Hey everyone, so One Piece chapter 1007 just came out, and I am actually going to start by skipping straight ahead to that end scene, that cliffhanger, with Oden showing up and kind of just clear it up, because before things kind of spiral out of control and we see some sort of crazy theories and, ideas going around, I think that the solution is very simple, and it's not even my solution. I'm not putting it forward like, oh, I solved it. I did see a stray Reddit comment that basically pointed something out that I had totally forgotten. So, we saw Oden, makes no sense, last person we could possibly expect to see in this situation. If anything, we would have expected to see, who that silhouette was that was helping the Scabbards. Maybe it was Hiyori. Now it seems more like it was Toki based on their reactions. But of course, even if it is Toki, it's very unlikely that Toki could have also have sent Oden into the future, just because we saw Oden die, and it was very important that Oden died. It's very important for the narrative that Oden died and is not coming back. I do not think that this is Oden, but luckily this is One Piece, which means that there are a lot of crazy Devil Fruit abilities and other abilities out there, so there are a lot of options to talk about. Again, I think we know what the right one is. I guess I'll stop teasing it. I'm 95% certain, based off of an observation from a stray Reddit user, that the Oden that we're seeing right now is such a weird sentence. It's Tama's teapot. The Oden that we saw at the end of this chapter is Tama's teapot. So, I had completely forgotten about this. There is a teapot that Tama and Hitetsu have that has eaten the Tanuki fruit. Okay? It's eaten the Tanuki fruit. We were introduced to it at the very beginning of this arc. It has eaten the Tanuki fruit, and from my understanding, Tanukis, in Japanese mythology, they do have the ability to transform. The reason I'm saying that it is very likely the Tanuki fruit user Tama's teapot is because the chapter is called Tanuki-san. Oda really, really likes getting double meanings out of a lot of his chapters. He does this all the time. You can look through pretty much any chapter, if you look at like 1 out of every 3 One Piece chapters, it's going to have, some sort of double meanings in the chapter, a chapter like a man that you can bet on, and it has the cover page of really, putting a certain number, like really making a bet at a casino, and then the chapter itself features a scene with, I believe, Jinbei talking about how he's betting on Luffy. Stuff like that. Oda does stuff like that very frequently. I'm not going to go through a long list of examples of this, but Oda likes getting double meanings out of his chapters, even if that means that it results in my opinion, a somewhat cheap cliffhanger like this, if that is just Tama's teapot. But Oda wanted to write a chapter called Tanuki-san, I guess. He's like, if I'm writing about Chopper, then let me have the other Tanuki in this series show up at the end, and let me add in a little twist to get them, get their head spinning for a little bit. So, I do believe that is Tama's teapot. The other options, as I see it, are it could be Yukimaru, but I don't know if Yukimaru has the ability to transform into multiple different forms. As far as we could see, he could only really transform from fox to human, human to fox. I don't know if he can do, a variety of different transformations, just be anything and anyone. It could be, in my opinion, the more interesting route is, or what I would hope is, it's Kanjuro. Kanjuro not being dead and actually really messing with the Scabbards by having Oden, Oden basically show back up, seemingly in front of their eyes. I would really like it if that is the case. I think that is unlikely, just because the more simple solution based on the chapter title and the way that Oda likes to mess with us a little bit, I do think it's just Tama's teapot. So, I don't know if this is going to even be like an actual character from here on, because this Oden that we see is clearly capable of speech and dialogue, and even, pretending like he knows the Scabbards and such. I'm interested to see where this goes, but I do think that it was, Oda pulling our legs a little bit in a way that slightly bothers me, but at the same time is somewhat funny. So, hopefully it's Kanjuro. I think it'd be really cool if it's Kanjuro, and Kanjuro's, up to some trickery. The last option I have seen thrown around is that it's Katarina Devon. It could be Katarina Devon. I wouldn't well, no, actually, I don't know if I would like it or not yet, because I have no idea. We have no idea where that would lead to if the Blackbeard pirates are here, but it's just like, how would Katarina Devon even have any sort of knowledge of Oden's relationship with the Scabbards? I don't know, it just seems very out there. It would be interesting if the Blackbeard Pirates have a hand in all of this, but I personally prefer if they kind of stay out of this conflict, at least till, let's like maybe the very end if Blackbeard wants to swoop in and steal a devil fruit or something like that. But although I guess to be fair, how would Thomas Teapot know about Odin? And well, no, it's a Wano resident. The Teapot is a Wano resident. That's totally different. Okay, so that aside, I think the bigger reveal that came out of this whole scabbard scene is that I think it is strongly hinted that it was Toki that we saw, right? I think it was strongly hinted that it was Toki that we saw just because Hiyori, that was the other big option. It's not Enel, right? We know it's not Enel at this point. Please do not say it's Enel. Hiyori is the other option, but Hiyori wouldn't work as well just because, Hiyori, I don't think it would prompt that sort of reaction like they're seeing her out of a dream or something like that, right? And on top of that, what am I talking about? Kawamatsu has already met up with Hiyori again, right? Kawamatsu has already met up with Hiyori. He knows what she looks like. So it's not Hiyori. It's very, very likely Toki. That would be great because Toki is not a major loose end, but Toki's backstory, Toki's actual history and what she knew about the world felt like a big tease that we never got to uncover. And I did just feel like the whole way that she went out after the build-up around her, back in around chapter like 920, 921, when we first heard about this woman who can travel through time, who was Odin's wife, I did feel like we didn't really get much out of Toki from Odin's flashback. So I do hope that she returns back to the story. She does most likely still have a scar on her leg, so even if she's disguised as some other character or hidden in some way, I'm sure that Oda might... I do think it's very likely that Oda would bring up, a character with the scar on their leg to immediately let the reader know that, oh, wait, this is Toki that we're looking at right now, or something like that. If she's in disguise or like being low-key or something like that. You know what I mean? So, all that being said, I think that covers basically the cliffhanger section of the chapter. I will say I literally could not believe my eyes when I saw Odin there. I knew that this chapter had some crazy spoilers because people were saying stay off Twitter and everything like that. I was like, I wonder what it could possibly be. This feels like it's a Chopper chapter. What could possibly happen in a Chopper chapter that's such a huge twist that I need to stay off Twitter and everything like that? And it turns out that it's Odin. But then on closer look and seeing what thoughts that other people were throwing around, it is not that big of a deal if it's Thomas Teapot. Maybe it's a big deal. Maybe Thomas Teapot is going to be a major character, but at the very least, to me at this moment, it does not seem like a big deal. Before we get to Chopper stuff, I do want to talk about my actual favorite part of the chapter, now that that cliffhanger is not as interesting to me, which was the Momonosuke stuff. So Momonosuke, I really, really liked this moment for him because, yeah, Momo's been like down on himself throughout the last, most of Act 3 and everything like that, right? He's acknowledging that he does not live up to his father, etc. His shortcomings, he's well aware of that. He knows he's a figurehead. He feels very small in terms of the grand scheme of things, and he doesn't feel like he's worthy of the role that he's being thrust into. All of that we've already covered. I do like that this was sort of the moment that he got a newfound sort of determination, because the thing that had been I didn't even realize it had been bothering me until I saw it. I kind of just not been thinking about it till I saw it here. So what triggers him in a sense is being called, he's called Shinobu calls him, Momonosuke, you're a splendid young man. And that triggers Momo. He's just like, splendid young man. And then he transforms and he goes off. So what had I didn't realize it had bothered me. Okay, I did not realize it had bothered me. I realized it here when Momo had his reaction. All of these scabbards, I count Shinobu as a scabbard because, even at the end of Odin's flashback, Odin himself basically welcomes her as a scabbard, right? They treat her as such practically. She's not technically a scabbard, but she was brought into the fold essentially at the end of Odin's flashback. She was part of the group that was walking towards Onigashima with the rest of the scabbards and Momo at the end of Act 2, etc. Going on a tangent here. Point being, all of these scabbards, right? The scabbards, the citizens of Wano, like the people of Wano, even though Momonosuke sucks and sucks so hard in so many ways, not that I'm not like coming around to the character. I don't dislike him nearly as much as other people do, and I actually really want to see him succeed and change and do well. But I'm saying, like, objectively, in terms of what he's capable of and what he's actually accomplished or done, he sucks, right? He's literally just a kid. So Momonosuke has sucked for a long time. Done little to nothing of use for the longest time. And yet people keep on showering him with praise as, you know, you're a splendid young man. Like, the Scabbards are just... Momonosuke can do literally anything, and the Scabbards are patting him on the back and being like, wow, Momo, you're really something special, man. Like, the Scabbards, they think Momonosuke, like, you know, farts gold or something like that. Like, it's just... It was not, like, it was something I just took for granted for so long, because it's like, yeah, obviously they're the Scabbards. Momonosuke is the son of, you know, their lord, etc. They're going to treat him like royalty. They're going to put him on a bit of a pedestal. They're going to treat him with kid gloves, etc. Obviously, we've seen Luffy's the only one that actually holds Momo somewhat accountable and, and pushes him in a way that he needs to be pushed. But I like that the moment that triggered Momo was not actually Luffy pushing him in some way or someone calling him out or anything like that. It was Momo himself finally, like, hearing, you're a splendid young man, for the umpteenth time, like the 50th time. Like, how many times did the Scabbards praise him for literally nothing? And that finally triggers him, and he's like, I'm not, like, that's what gets him going. He's like, he knows that he's not that, like, he knows that he's not really worthy of this random praise that they're throwing out. Like, hearing him being called splendid, great, for literally nothing, for like the 50th time in a row, that's what gets him going. He's just like, I'm actually gonna do something. I'm actually gonna do something. I'm not worthy of everything that you guys are treating me as. I'm actually going to do something and live up to what my reputation is supposed to be, essentially, right? So that's what really got me. It's like, you know, you're being told you're special over and over and over again, even though you know you're not, and finally it just gets to you and you're like, no, now I'm actually going to do something. Stop treating me like this for no reason. I really like that. I thought that was a great moment for Momo. I'm really excited to see what he does next. And I like that it was preceded by the CP0 conversation, because, I don't know, that CP0 conversation, it didn't, like, give me... it got me a little, just, I don't know, a little bit hyped. I'd never been hyped to see what Momo could do before, but them just casually talking about, yeah, that Dragon Devil food. It's a good thing that was, you know, destroyed, otherwise that would be trouble. And it's just like, oh, I wonder what Momo can actually do. The CP0 inclusion is great, by the way. I think that they're just great for cutaways and kind of adding some atmosphere or, you know, suspense to the situation. Like, it's a good break from the non-stop action to give us out sort of bird's eye view of what's going on, and just some you know, musing thoughts about that hint at larger things that could take place, like with the Go board and everything like that, hinting at a lot of the action a lot of the shifts that would take place over the course of the war that we saw in the following chapters, with seeing the Beast Pirate. Yes, they're outnumbered, the protagonists are outnumbered, the alliance is outnumbered, but the solution is basically switching over a lot of the Beast Pirates to their side. That is seemingly turning the tides to a degree. And now this chapter, where they're hinting at the potential of Momonosuke, and then cutting to Momonosuke's actual scene where he finally basically snaps, is what it looks like. I hope he's snapped. I hope that this is basically a shift in his sense of overall determination and taking action. Seeing him snap, and now we're actually excited to see what he can do next. So, all that aside, let's talk about the main aspect of the chapter, which I did not... I don't know, guys. Please let me know how you feel about the whole Isoni situation down below, but this entire plot line for Chopper was just... I was not feeling it. I got nothing out of it. Okay, I'm not gonna stretch it out or anything like that, but just for me, basically, the entire Isoni... This Chopper moment, I felt very little from it, because it's not like we got anything sort of new or different from the previous moment, which was, you know, Chopper's just like, I have a solution. Everybody's like, okay. All right, and then it kind of just repeated that, where it's like, okay, going back to, okay, the Ice Oni's our problem again, and then Chopper's back like, I have the final solution. What is different about this versus the other thing? Like, yes, logistically, that other thing was basically, I have the thing that holds off the poison, or not the poison, the virus for a little bit, and then this is, okay, here's the big solution to the virus, but we're kind of just cutting into Chopper popping up and saying, I have the solution. What was the difference? You know what I mean? Like, this is just basically a repeat of that previous moment with him basically saying, stop, I've solved it in some way. We're not actually getting anything out of this in terms of, like, looking at what his character is going through, getting any... Like, I'm not asking for some sort of extended full chapter of internal monologue for Chopper, but it's just... It's just, he solved it. He solved something twice, and that's basically the storyline, and that's the solution to the Ice Oni situation. It just doesn't feel like this did anything for his character in any sense. You know what I mean? Like, let's say... I don't want to compare... It's more so the fact that the Ice Oni was such a long-running storyline. For example, like, there's plenty of moments where Straw Hats have sort of eureka moments where they're able to solve something in the spur of the moment, and it's a great moment for their character. For example, you know, let's say Sanji solving the Enies Lobby situation, opening the gates to the Justice, Buster Call, that's resolved. I didn't need, like, to see some sort of long-running, like, you know, character struggle for Sanji to, like, figure out how to get the solution to all that. I think same with Nami in that same vein, right after that being like, okay, this reminds me of the previous situation, navigation-wise, that we had during the Davy Back fight. This is how we're going to get out of this situation. Those are just nice character moments where everybody's coming through to play a role that nobody else could play. A great moment to get individual shine. That stuff's great. The Ice Oni moment didn't rub me the wrong. It just didn't do anything for me. It's not going to be a memorable part of the arc for me. It's not going to be, you know, even a memorable Chopper moment for me, to be honest, because for me, a lot of the great Chopper moments that I remember actually have his character go through, like the Gedatsu fight, him actually taking 3 Rumble Balls and having to go through that transformation the first time. There's a lot better Chopper moments, in my opinion, where we actually see his character go through something. To me, this was just basically being told that there's some Ice Oni stuff that's bad, being told that Chopper's on the side trying to figure out a cure, and that, you know, we are told that, okay, I'm under pressure to find a cure, and then 2 times Chopper is basically like, guys, I've solved something, and everybody's like, yes, good job, Chopper. It just doesn't do anything for me. You know, like, it's not in the same vein as even Dressrosa, like Usopp having to snipe Sugar. That's a high-pressure situation where only he can shine. He's the sniper. He has to be able to do this. That was a great chapter that we got devoted to Usopp coming through in the clutch in his role. I just don't... Like, go back and read that Usopp chapter, and to me, that's still one of the best Usopp moments in the entire series. And actually, people don't know this, that's my favorite moment in the entire Dressrosa arc. That Usopp chapter where he actually has to, you know, come through as a sniper, arguably in the most clutch way he's ever had to in the entire series. I thought that was really, really well done. I'm just sad that with Chopper, we actually got a very long storyline, like, you know, technically long, the number of chapters it spanned, long setup for him to shine as a doctor, and then the actual moments that we got for him were very straightforward, I guess. Like, I didn't feel much more from this than when Chopper pops up on Zoe and is like, I can solve this problem on Zoe. Do you guys get what I'm saying? So I don't think it's, I'm not even saying it's like, I'm not even I'm just very indifferent towards everything that happened with this Chopper situation. It's just not, like, the reality is it's not going to be memorable for me. I do think it's interesting that, like, most of the conversation around this chapter is not about the Chopper situation. It is more so just about the Oden thing. So, you know, even in Chopper's own chapter, he's not, like, everything that happened with him isn't the highlight. I don't think he's even the most memorable part of this chapter for a lot of people. Let me know if you agree below, but that's just kind of how I feel. What I do get is that this logistically changes a lot for the Alliance in that, you know, we started out with Usopp and Nami being able to get a lot of the Beast Pirates to switch sides, right? But they could only have it work on gifters. So what Chopper has done is actually, you know, swing over... Well, I guess Chopper didn't force anyone to change or anything like that the way that Usopp and Nami did. But through Chopper's actions, a lot of these other guys, the Pleasures, the Waiters, etc., they now know which side they actually should be on. So slowly we're seeing, okay, 1, Usopp and Nami were able to get a lot of people to switch over. 2, Chopper is able to get a lot of people to switch over. Now it's becoming more of an even fight. And that's great to see that it's the weakling trio that's doing all of this. So everybody else is going to be able to fight and beat stronger opponents, but it's the weakling trio coming through. Nami, first of all, having to, use her noggin and figure out that this is what we could do with Tama's ability. Usopp actually executing Nami's plan. And then Chopper, through his kindness, he's a great doctor, etc. Doctors save everybody, go back to Chopper's arc. This is very consistent with, everything that we're told about the good heart you need to have as a doctor. Chopper, by doing what he naturally would do as a doctor and saving everybody, has helped everybody, no, not everybody, not all of the Beast Pirates, but a good number of the Beast Pirates naturally switch sides. Conceptually, I like everything that's happening. For Chopper's character, this is just not going to be like a particularly memorable or, iconic moment to me, at least, just because I didn't feel like I got anything out of it personally. Beyond that, Hyogoro and... So Hyogoro's... the entire Hyogoro... The tease that Hyogoro might die, I think that's also part of a reason that... I couldn't feel that invested in the chapter because you knew from the start what was going to happen. And, yeah, sure, very often we know what's going to happen. We know that, Luffy's going to beat Lucci at the end of the fight, stuff like that. We know that Robin's not actually going to go to Enies Lobby, but sometimes it just feels kind of blatant. So from the ending of last chapter where Hyogoro is talking about how he's going to die, through the majority of this chapter where Hyogoro is like, oh, I'm going to die, and here come the waterworks from his, from these, these 5 mafia bosses who we barely know the names of, it just felt like, I was kind of checking my watch, we know you're not going to die. This is just... I felt very little while I was reading through all of those, because it's just so blatant. The reader knows so blatantly that there's, pretty much no tension in this situation. We know exactly what's going to happen 10 pages in, right? So, but the Hyogoro... What I did like to see is that, Hyogoro is actually... Hopefully he actually is still able to remain in fighting shape, despite the fact that the Ice Oni disease, the virus that actually reverted him back to his prime, that's been cured. Hopefully Hyogoro is able to keep fighting, because I am getting more and more impressed by him just in general, because we were told that he's a strong fighter, but what that actually means we never really know, because sometimes Oda will say this person's strong, and then that's not necessarily always the case. What strong means so many different, there's so many levels to this, right? But the fact that Hyogoro wrecked not only Orochi's samurai, but also the entire Oniwabanshu. The Oniwabanshu, yes, they were never that tough, but at the same time, as a group, they were still a problem. We saw that as a group, it took Nami, Robin, Brook, they had to put in some effort to hold them off. Similarly, Flower Capital stuff, they weren't actually a threat. I'm sure that, they aren't actually going to be able to, none of them individually are going to be able to take down a Straw Hat or something like that, but they're a problem. Just seeing, the fact that one guy took out all of them pretty easily, along with some other enemies, that's got me hyped a little bit for Hyogoro. I do hope we get to see him keep fighting. And a new matchup has just popped up as a possibility for me. I really don't know if we're going to get it, but this is something that I definitely did not see coming whatsoever. Hyogoro versus Queen. I do not think Chopper versus Queen is a possibility. That would be kind of insane. I mean, we've got Jinbei fighting who's who, and, Frankie fighting Sasaki, and so for Chopper to suddenly leapfrog all the way and now he's fighting Queen would be kind of insane. I think this was Chopper's, he gets a good hit in on Queen and everything like that. I don't think that fight's going to continue. But Hyogoro versus Queen is an interesting possibility, because they actually do have... One, Hyogoro, the way he's being portrayed, could very well be strong enough to take on Queen. He could very well be strong enough to take on, a Yonko top commander, right? And 2, they actually have, some prior animosity, right? There is a dynamic between the two that's been around for a while. Hyogoro has shriveled away and suffered in Queen's prison under Queen's rule for decades now. And, we got to see Queen use Hyogoro and Luffy essentially for his amusement throughout that whole sumo wrestling match. Hyogoro versus Queen, that seems like a very, very possible matchup to me at this moment. I would like to see Queen versus Sanji. I will say that at the very least, Sanji versus Jack, hopefully, I hope that this chapter, that possibility gets put to rest, because it's just not an exciting matchup for Sanji. I think it's not what a lot of people want to see right now. The reason I say hopefully it gets put to rest is because it does seem like the Scabbards are, back up and kind of ready to fight, so they wouldn't necessarily need to be saved by Sanji, right? Before the situation seemed like, okay, they're injured, so maybe, and Jack's coming down to get them, so maybe Sanji has to go protect them. But at the moment, it seems like they might just be okay. So happy to see that. I don't think that there's a purpose at this point for Sanji having to go stop Jack from attacking them or anything like that. So that aside, I do hope that Sanji somehow ends up getting matched up with Queen, but I wouldn't be upset if it's Hyuga versus Queen either, because it's just such a unexpected but somehow fitting matchup at this point in time. So that's all for this chapter. Let me know if you agreed with what I said down below, and if you like, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe.